Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic for you today. Let's do it. What are some true scary experiences that some Redditors have been through? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Late last summer, a friend invited me to a bonfire party a little ways out of our city in Alaska in a place called Peters Creek, which I was very familiar with. So two of my friends and I leave in my car around 10 p.m., following a caravan of 8 cars with other people in them. We come up to the Peters Creek exit off the highway, and all 7 cars in front of me pass it. Confused, I call the friend that invited me in the car in front of us. Apparently he got confused. The party is in Jim's Creek, a town another 30 minutes out I was unfamiliar with, but we continued anyway. All of the cars arrive at a communal meeting area before it's explained where we're going. We had to take some pretty bumpy roads through the woods, which were right on the edge of a large beach where the bonfire was at. The beach and the woods were used for dirt bikes and four-wheelers and the like, so it was pretty rugged terrain, but everyone's cars held up just fine. Fun times we had. The 3 of us didn't drink, smoke, or become impaired at all during the night, but my 2 friends and myself had to work the next day, so we decided to head back into town around 2:30 a.m. Keep in mind that this is Alaska, so when we got to this bonfire around 11 p.m., it was still fairly light, but by the time we left, it had gotten really dark. It had been raining the whole week, which made the beach pretty muddy, and a lot of it was large puddles that we could only see reflected in the moonlight. Because of this, we kept driving into the water off the edge of the beach, while looking for this ridiculous path into the woods, which already had me pretty scared. We turned around to get away from the water a little bit, in an attempt to make it back to the bonfire and ask someone to help us get out of there. Unfortunately, in the pitch-black darkness with nothing but my car's weak headlights to rely on, we couldn't find shit, just woods. Finally, salvation. We see a Jeep 4Runner coming out of one of the four-wheeling paths and flag them down for help. There are 3 guys and 1 girl in the Jeep, and they are severe redneck Alaskan hicks. "You're not too far. We'll get you out of here. Just try to keep up, cuz. We're taking the fun way." I didn't think twice about what he meant by that. I was just so beyond happy that we were finally getting off this godforsaken beach. I start driving behind them on what seems like a familiar path, but I am soon mistaken. The paths we're driving on are getting narrower and narrower, and my Hyundai Santa Fe isn't happy about it. But the hicks and the 4Runner were getting along fine. Then the path we're on comes to a very sharp U-turn around a tree. The hicks pull some crazy maneuver, which involved gripping their front wheel driver on the tree and spinning their car around it. Alright, not just do what I did so we can turn around and get back on the real path. Backing up was not an option at this point. All I could do was go around it. I knew that my car was not going to come out of this looking the same, and I had accepted that fate. Just get me home. So, I do what I have to do. I gun it toward the tree, grip my wheel on it just right, and success. My car starts to spin around the tree, but it doesn't finish. It gets stuck between this tree and the one next to it. And to add to the horror of this, the wheels weren't even touching the ground. My car was suspended in the air between 2 trees, dented the up. So my friends and I get out of the car and I'm in tears. The hicks get out of their car too, and they're all, "Oh shit, well we thought your car might be a little too big for this one." And this is when we notice how stumbling drunk and up on other drugs they were. Parts of Alaska like this are renowned for the amount of meth abuse that goes on. The hick that was driving gets in my car and tries to get it out, but it obviously doesn't work. So they decide to tie a tow rope to my front bumper and pull it forward, ignoring my protests. It should be noted that between the 3 of us, we had 2 phones. One, mine, with little to no service and 3% battery, and my friends with a little more battery but no service to speak of. All three of us are beyond scared, as these hicks were creepy as F, and we assumed out to kill us. So one of my friends tries to call the police, but the line keeps getting disconnected. As soon as the hicks start pulling on the car, we hear a loud pop, and the car shuts off. We try to turn the key, but nothing would happen. So, the three of us are in the middle of the woods, miles from anyone that could ever hear us, cell phones that aren't working, cars suspended between two trees, at the mercy of four meth-out rednecks. One redneck gets in the Jeep and backs it into my car, pushing it out of the trees and ruining my bumper. My two friends and I get in the car and start steering as the hicks pull us, now backwards, through this bicycle path towards salvation. But, oh no, my problems are not over. The hicks pull my car right into a tree, ignoring our honks and screams to stop, so myself and two hicks have to push the car forward to get it back on the path, while one of my friends was inside steering. I was braced against the tree, pushing, and without warning, the two hicks stop pushing. My SUV then rolls back, crushing me between the tree, fracturing two of my ribs. The car is realigned, and the hicks pull us right back where they found us. Oh, and at this point, 3 separate police departments were out looking for us, but couldn't find us since we didn't even know where we were. The hicks kept pressing to give us a ride back home to Anchorage, 2 hours away, and we were not having it. My friend had to eventually yell at them, "We're not getting in your car. You can leave us alone now so the police can come help us out." And that sent them running. Unfortunately, she was lying, and the police were not on their way, as both phones had died. The three of us stand outside for a good half hour before some friendly black people in a truck roll up, and we offer them $20 to tow us out to the main road, where we waited an hour for my friend's wonderful mother to come and drive our sorry asses home. The stupid party cost me $1,200 in towing fees and car repairs, and that was just to get it running. The body's still completely dented and up a year later.
Yeah, being at the mercy of complete strangers, far from civilization and no way to contact emergency services, that's a pretty scary situation, and your options are limited. You should start thinking of your own security and safety, any makeshift weapons, or just kind of read the room and be hyper aware. So it was smart that you didn't get in their car. They might not have had generally bad intentions, but better safe than sorry. So, bad day. Sorry about your car.
I used to live with my girlfriend in an old house, and we had 4 majestic chickens for which I had built an incredible perch, or whatever that shit is called, out of old ladders and bricks and planks of wood in a big old tin shed. I'd never looked after chickens, so was kind of paranoid about some dog or cat attacking them. Whenever I heard a strange noise outside, I'd grab a piece of wood and run out to smash whatever was messing with my chickens. Anyway, the middle of one rainy night, I heard the chickens freaking out and something banging around in the shed. So I run out in my underpants to save my chickens. I'm kind of freaked out though, because the noise from the shed sounds goddamn terrifying, screeching and heavy breathing and scuffing around. I slide the door open a bit and the noise has stopped immediately. It's pitch black. I poke my Nokia phone in, no working torch, but it doesn't light anything up at all. It's a piece of shit. So I open the door fully, waving the piece of wood around like an idiot, stepping in chicken shit, and try shine the dim screen light on the walls. When I'm right in the middle of the shed, up to my right, about 2 feet from my face, I hear this quiet hissing noise. I shine the light and a fucking demon, pale, scarred skin, one eye, covered in blood, sharp teeth, starts screeching right in my face. I scream, trip over and get covered in chicken shit as I scramble out into the rain. After a minute, sitting down wondering what just happened, I get enough courage to take another look. It was a possum, which had been in a fight with some cats. Last Saturday, my 4-year-old, Yuji, and I went to the store. We got our stuff and walked out to the car. Normally, I pushed the cart out to the car, opened Yuji's door, and let her climb in while I put stuff in the trunk, then buckle her in and go. But for some reason, that day I just carried all the bags in my hands, and since I couldn't open the door with my hands full, Yuji stood at the trunk with me while I put the bags inside. Suddenly I heard a car skidding. I looked up, and a car was jumping a curb and speeding toward us. I turned. My car was parked sideways, relative to the car coming at us, and picked up Yuji, but there was no time to run out of the way. So I held her up. In that split second, I thought we were going to be hit for sure. So I held her up where at most her legs would be hit, but her head would be shielded from hitting the cement when we fell by my body. But I managed to dodge as the car hit our car to the left of us and kept going to the right of us. I saw it about 2 inches away from my body and was amazed I managed to dodge it. I watched the car gently bump another car as I ran over to some grass between the parking lot and street and just sat there for a moment shocked. People were running over to us asking if we were okay. I kept saying we were fine and called my partner, since it's actually his car, and said a drunk driver or something just nearly ran over me and Yuji. Meanwhile, the people that had run up were calling the cops and stopping the guy that had hit my car. It turned out to be a really old guy. He parked and started walking into the store and had already forgotten anything had happened. After making sure we were okay, my partner asked how the car was. I said I hadn't even looked at it yet. Couldn't see the back from my angle on the grass, so I walked around. The entire back bumper was torn off from the way it was thrown on the ground. I have no idea how it didn't hit us. The door where Yuji would have normally been getting in was dented, and Yuji's car seat was thrown out of place. If she had been climbing in like normal, she would have been majorly hurt. The car was also thrown quite a bit, so if I had tried to run out of the way to the left, we would have been crushed by my car. If I had tried to run out of the way to the right, I would have been run over by the other car. My mom always says this was the most terrifying night of her life. She was camping with her parents and 2 brothers out in the middle of the woods in Oregon, a ways away from civilization. They had done this many times before, and it was never a problem for them. But on this particular night, there was some sort of animal making strange noises in the bushes around their campsite for some time. Whenever Grandpa went to check it out, he couldn't find anything. The sounds seemed to get closer and louder. What sounded like pebbles falling later became large rocks being hurled through the brush. That evening, when they went to the lake, the sounds followed them. On the dark walk back to the campsite, Grandpa started to tell stories about the Bigfoot that are rumored to live in the area. Just as they rounded a corner, they heard another noise, and Grandpa's flashlight caught the figure of a tall, white figure standing in among the trees watching. The children shrieked, and all of them took off as it howled after them. No one stopped running until they got back to the campsite. When they did, they realized they had left Grandpa behind, howling in laughter. When I was younger, my step-grandma had breast cancer and had to have her breasts removed. Fast forward to my teenage years, one summer she comes up to me wearing a t-shirt that says boobs on it, where someone spray-painted realistic boobs inside the O's. The O's were placed right where her breasts would have been. It was unsettling. Anyway, she tells me she's going to get breast implants and that the plastic surgeon put arches under the skin of her chest to create room for the implant. She then grabs my hand and makes me feel one of her boobs. That was the creepiest moment with her until the Christmas where my step-grandma tried to get me to date my cousin. That was another moment. This happened about 10 years ago in Thailand. I was on vacation with a buddy of mine staying at his family's place in Phuket. A couple days into the vacation, we got bored and decided to rent 2 of those ridiculous scooters that look like the illegitimate child of a Harley Davidson and a battery-powered wheelchair. They look like some poor schmuck tried to build his own Vespa out of spare parts found in a junkyard. Anyhow, they had a gear shift but no clutch. You had to slam the gears in by just kicking down a lever like a brute. Not the finest piece of engineering I've come across. Now, being 16 at the time, we thought it'd be a marvelous idea to pick a pair of flip-flops and swimming trunks as protective riding gear and made our way to a local bar at the beach. My friend got hammered pretty quickly on cheap booze and Singa beer, and we've stayed at the said bar until around midnight. On our way home, wearing no helmet and Hawaiian shirts dangling in the wind, we started speeding on this curvy road like any fearless man riding such sophisticated, purebred racing machines would do. And remember, my friend was already blitzed out of his mind by the time we left the bar, and now a volatile elixir bearing resemblance to the chemical structure of gasoline was still brewing in his stomach. To this day, I still wonder how he even managed to ride in a straight line that night. But back to the story. We're speeding on this curvy road, and all of a sudden I hear this really loud bang, like a beam of steel falling on concrete from 30 feet up. I had taken the lead, and my friend had been cruising right behind me up to that point. So I turn around, mid-curve, mind you, and see his scooter flying down the road on its side, following me like a rocket. The exhaust must have been grinding on the road, so there were sparks flying everywhere. I shit you not, the scene looked like it was taken straight from a Terminator movie. I still see it before my eyes. Upon realizing that he must have crashed, I shouted, "Forget Peter!" and turned around intending to bring my vehicle to a halt. Little did I know that by the time I got my eyes back on the road, I had actually already missed my turn, and my scooter and I were headed down the ditch next to the road. I was doing 50 mph and pulled all the brakes my trustful steed was equipped with while holding onto the handlebars for dear life. Turned out, scooters don't really brake well while riding inside of ditches, and so my braking attempts were to no avail. Then I hit a concrete bridge head on. Here's the fucked up part that saved my life. Besides all the shenanigans, we're already pulling on the 2-wheeled accident waiting to happen mobile. I was also operating my scooter while sitting on the back seat and thus got ejected. My right thigh hit the handlebars pretty hard, but I ended up landing on top of the concrete bridge I parked my scooter in, which turned out to be the driveway to someone's house, relatively unharmed. I passed out for a minute or two, and when I came by, I ran back to take care of my friend. I found him screaming on the side of the road, yelling out expletives about how it's all the damn scooter's fault. Some Brits who drove past the spot where we smoothly disassemble our rides gave us a lift back to our house, where the real aftermath of the crash became apparent. My leg and arm were bleeding all over the place, and upon looking at my friend, I finally put 1 and 1 together about how he managed to decelerate. Turns out he, in a lucid act of brilliance, calculated that it would be smartest to use all but one of his limbs to utilize the friction between his body and the loose gravel to make him slide to a halt. A real physicist, that one. He looked pretty beat up. I took a quick shower to wash up the tarmac out of my sore spots and went to wake up his parents in the middle of the night to take us to the hospital. At the hospital, the first thing they tell us is to avoid showering at all costs because the water is contaminated. I was like, great, thanks for the heads up. The funniest part of the story is this one though. They took us to some kind of makeshift ER at this really ungodly hour and started fixing us up like medics on a battlefield. My friend was kicking and screaming from the pain and still drunk as shit, which obviously the Thai doctors didn't know, and so they gave him morphine for the pain. When the drugs kicked in, he started hallucinating. and was rolling around in bed like a madman, politely asking to take away the cats and dogs that were jumping around on his bed. Must have been a hell of a trip. It was only during a follow-up exam at the hospital back home that they found out that 3 of his ribs were actually broken. I honestly don't know how we both survived that crash, but I'm thankful to be alive. My right thigh that slammed into the handlebars is still numb to this day. A great reminder to take it easy whenever I go ride a motorcycle again. Okay, this was extremely creepy at the time. I'm not sure how well it will come off in texts. We're both girls, which I hope will help make us appear less like total pussies. I had just moved into a new flat for university, ground floor in a quite nice area. I was in there one evening around 8 or 9 p.m. chatting to my new flatmate. It was October, so already dark by then and a couple of weeks before Halloween. Slightly relevant. So, suddenly, there's a knock on the window. We open the curtains, expecting to see someone we know, and there's a person outside with a mask on. One like this. The person is small, approximately the height of a child, and given that we're both living in the town for university, we don't know any children there, but we still assume it is someone we know somehow. So we laugh a bit, and the person holds out an empty shopping bag as if they're trick-or-treating. We motion that they should take off the mask, and it shakes its head and just continues to stand there. Our laughs are becoming more nervous, so we shake our heads and close the curtain. 2 minutes later, the knock comes again, and the same person is standing there with the bag outstretched. We look closely and convince ourselves that, by the clothes, height, etc., this is nobody we know. So we shake our heads again and close the curtains and sit inside them whispering about whether he's still out there or not. A minute or two later, we open them again, and freakishly, yes, he's still there. Again, we close them and sit there debating who it might be. Then out of nowhere, we have been sitting talking in hushed whispers, so it was terrifyingly loud and unexpected. We hear the buzzer for the front door. There are 12 apartments on the block, so we weren't sure how he/it knew the number of ours, but it could be deduced easily enough, I suppose. We don't answer it anyway, just sit listening at the apartment door. A few moments later, we hear the front door click open and the person move into the building. Then there's a knock on our apartment door. We're pretty freaked out now, so run off to get Hurleys, Irish sports equipment, and knives, etc. to defend ourselves. We peep out through the peephole, and he's just standing there, with this freakish Tony Blair grinning mask, staring placidly at the door. Finally, a few minutes later, he turns to leave. We are instantly a bit braver. It does appear to be a child after all, so we leave it 30 seconds, then open the door to tiptoe after him. He turns to go around the side of the building, and we confirm that there are no groups of friends egging him on. He's completely on his own. And that's all we knew. We asked our neighbors if they had buzzed him in and described a series of events, but they said they had had no window knocking or anything. TL. DR. Creepy child. Me and my brother always used to go to the woods when we were about 10 or 11. We enjoyed traveling through these places, and the only woods we hadn't been through was one near our house that we'd heard a lot of bad things about. We eventually went in there. It seemed like a pretty normal woods for a while, except we couldn't see anybody walking their dogs and stuff. So, we started walking and found this old bomb shelter we'd heard about. We actually got told not to go in there. Guess what we did? Being curious, my brother used his phone light to light up the darkness in the bomb shelter as we went in. It was hardly anything interesting. A few rats freaked me out, but nothing more. We came out of the shelter after an hour of having fun in it, and we look forward to see a man. I noticed him first, then pointed to him, hiding behind a tree looking at us. He was very tall and had a dark green jacket, so we walked away. While walking away, we noticed that we were being followed by this man. So we ran, and he ran after us. It was a very scary experience. Then a few years later, I watched the Marble Hornets video and freak out because I don't like tall people hiding and being creep, although my encounter had a face and didn't wear a suit. For a couple of summers, I lived and worked as a maintenance worker for California's Tahoe State Parks. I lived with a bunch of other seasonal workers in these little cabins not much bigger than tents. Every couple of days, we would pool our money and buy flats of booze and meat and barbecue into the wee hours in the morning, and then roll out of bed to get back to work. Now, in Tahoe, there were bears just wandering down the west shore where we lived. One morning, after everyone else had gone to sleep, I was pissed drunk, going to the bathroom. Bathroom was outside, no running water in the cabins. Came back to find a large brown bear macking on some leftover chicken we had not cleaned up. The bear was directly between me and my cabin, with no clear way around. So I yelled at it a couple of times. Yeah, I was drunk. I told you, Mr. Bear did not find this funny, and made some angry noises, standing up, then took a few loping, running steps at me. It stopped about 15 feet away and just stared at me. So I edged around and snuck back into my cabin, glad that I was not a tasty bear burger.